All right, folks, what's going on? Welcome to the Monday Night Live stream, number 54. Put a one in the chat if y'all can hear me clearly, if my sound is good. All right, let's see what we got here. Excuse me for coughing into the mic here. Let's see, put some ones in the chat if y'all can hear me clearly. Want to make sure I'm doing all right here. This is my jam too, by the way. Hold on, let me turn that up. Here we go. Mm, 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 mm. All right, y'all. You can hear me? All right, cool. We see some ones in the chat popping up. There we go. All right. So tonight we got some things to talk about. We got to talk about raw vegan meal prep. I'm going to talk a little bit about nutrient timing. All right. We're going to talk about what else are we going to talk about? Talk about supplementation, and in particular, the types of supplements that I use personally and why I use them. And there are some supplements. I'm not like big on supplements, but there are some that are very valuable, not essential, but beneficial, right? You don't need to supplement with anything at all, right? It's just a matter of benefit and convenience, right? So I'm going to talk about that as well. But first of all, I want to give y'all a big shout out for tuning in tonight, Monday Night Live. We see y'all tuning in. I'm also going to be taking some of y'all questions as well, right? So put your questions in the chat. I'm going to try to get to those, right? Because we like to chop it up, go back and forth with y'all on the Monday Night Live. All right. So yeah, we've this is number 54, right? So we've actually got like over a year's worth of live streams, right? Because that's number 54, but it's actually more than that, right? Because I've been doing impromptu live streams. I've been doing Monday night lives that weren't really titling to be Monday night lives. I've been doing live streams on TikTok. I got live streams with the members, doing a lot of broadcasting, right? Folks, hit the like button as well. Try to push this thing up in the algorithm, right? And share with anybody who you feel would find this information valuable. The reason why I decided to talk about meal prep today is because one of the biggest benefits of a raw vegan, especially a raw fruitarian style diet, is convenience, right? So convenience, we need to be as time efficient as possible, especially those of us who are fully grown adults with a lot of responsibilities, right? We've got significant goals, things we're trying to achieve. We're trying to improve our hormonal balance, insulin sensitivity, dopamine sensitivity, right? Trying to improve our leptin sensitivity, reverse leptin resistance, reverse fatty liver disease, prevent and reverse kidney disease, all types of stuff, right? So we got a lot of things: joint pain, arthritis, right? That is also a metabolic issue. So, in particular, my main wheelhouse and area of focus is first and foremost improving metabolic health. All right, your metabolic health that affects all of your parts: lungs, kidneys, pancreas, liver, thyroid, pituitary, hypothalamus, adrenals, everything, right? So, your metabolic health is really important. And then gut microbiome, right? Your diet should nurture your gut microbiome, all right? And it's a zero sum game when it comes to nutrition. So either the foods that you're eating are helping to improve your gut microbiome or diminish it, right? Your foods are either helping your body to flush out toxins and reduce acid, or it's contributing to that issue, right? So I'm going to talk about these different nuances as well. So metabolic health and then improving your gut microbiome. When you optimize those two things, it becomes very easy to build muscle mass and drop body fat. Okay. It is very difficult to build muscle mass and drop body fat if your metabolic health is horrible and your gut microbiome is horrible. And usually, if your gut microbiome is horrible and severely damaged, it's very difficult to improve your metabolic health. So, gut microbiome health actually becomes your number one priority. All right. So, food choice then becomes the most important thing overall. So that leads us to meal prep and what that looks like. right? Now, in particular, when it comes to meal prep, typically we're eating fruit by the pound, right? So we're eating, you know, 18 ounces of this, 12 ounces of that, 16 ounces of that, 24 ounces of that, etc. And I'm actually going to go briefly into Chronometer and actually show you what I'm talking about. If you are feeling lethargic, like so fatigue, lethargia, poor sleep quality, muscle fatigue, um, anxiety, depression, things like this, low motivation, one of the best things that you can do is increase your carbohydrate intake, right? Because your brain and your nervous system primarily runs on sugar for energy, exclusively sugar for energy. Okay, your nervous system and your brain do not use fat for energy. And in order to use fat for energy, it has to be converted into sugar and dumped into your bloodstream, right? And that process is called lipolysis and gluconeogenesis. Okay, gluconeogenesis, right? Um, and so with something like a raw diet, now a raw vegan diet in particular, it's very unique. It's very interesting. And the reason why I'm more partial to it is because there is a thing called gastric emptying, right? Gastric emptying essentially is how long does it take for food to break down and digest in your stomach and move through your digestive tract and exit your body, right? How long does that process take for foods to move from up here to down here? Um, Cooked foods usually um, have or cause a slow gastric emptying. They sit in your stomach for a long period of time and gradually empty out, right? And typically the foods that are the most satiating, which basically satiation basically is what shuts your hunger hormones off for the longest period of time, and that's what's deemed to be a satiating food. And satiating foods typically are foods that keep you full for a long time because the gastric emptying is slow. Foods with fast gastric emptying, they're not that satiating, right? So you feel hungry more frequently. That's a thing to get used to if you're trying to improve your metabolic health, because a big part of metabolic health is the decongestion of your gut, the decongestion, right, of your metabolism, even down to a cellular level. So the foods that have the longest gastric emptying are like animal products, right? Foods that are high in protein, foods that are high in fat, and then starchy foods. Okay. And if you combine high protein, fat, and starches together, you're going to have a really slow gastric emptying. Now, these are heavy meals, right? Even in some cases, that will give you the itis, right? So you feel yourself really just get subdued, right? You know what the itis is. You feel like you got to unbuckle your pants a little bit, right? You have to pop some buttons. And that feeling really sets in when a huge load hits your gut. And it's a long, and it just break down, sits on your gut like a brick, right? And you need a lot of stomach acid. You need a lot of different digestive enzymes and whatnot to really break that down. Okay. If you have a compromised gut microbiome, you can experience gas and bloating and things like that as a result of the high level of acid, or you're not producing enough stomach acid or particular enzymes, right? Digestive enzymes and things like that, right? Um, so with a raw diet, these are foods typically that result in faster gastric empty, right? So raw diet, in particular, a fruitarian style diet, which is a fruit-based diet. So if you right now, let's say you eat 24 ounces of grapes, grapes don't sit on you for very long. They're energizing. They really pick you up, hydrate your body, loads of vitamin C, vitamin K, B vitamins, thiamine, right? The works. Magnesium, manganese, really rich source of copper, iron, potassium, things like that, right? Moves through your digestive system quick, feeds your gut microbiome, has all kinds of different benefits. And when you eat the grapes, they increase your insulin sensitivity, right? Now, the great thing is that with a raw vegan diet, essentially, with each fruit bowl has compounding results, right? So one fruit bowl, if you follow that up with another fruit bowl, what happens is you get increased insulin sensitivity. So when you do that repeatedly, your blood sugar numbers trend down and your insulin sensitivity trends upward. Okay. So like for example, with someone who's like diabetic, one of the best things that you can do is increase gastric emptying. Okay. Now, as you speed up gastric emptying, you may feel hungry more frequently. And the interesting thing is you may feel hungry more frequently, but you don't feel tired. You actually feel like you have more energy. This is usually the case. It's not with every person straight across the board because you may have other compounding issues. But for the most part, that hungriness is the gastric emptying, right? The emptying out of your stomach, right? So your insulin sensitivity increases, and therefore your blood sugar levels don't stay elevated for very long, right? So how do we put this into practice, right? Well, let's go here. Let me set this up for a second. All right, there we go. So we got the chronometer dashboard, and put a W in the chat if you can see my screen here. If you see chronometer on the screen. All right, wait for the W's to come in. We're gonna be real concise, real straight to the point tonight. So I'm waiting for those W's to come in. Put a W in the chat. Y'all gonna make me think I got problems here. There we go. Okay, so we got the W's coming in. All right. That's right. We're getting interactive. All right. So now basically this is one of my favorite tools. Now I did a little short video that I dropped today on my Instagram and my TikTok. And one of the things that I really stress the importance of is number one, success is in the numbers, right? Count everything. There's two things that you need in particular, right? Meal tracking and a food scale. Okay. So let's say I am meal prepping for the day. Typically what I want to do is I want to calculate my calories and macros, right? And then from there, I map out my foods. So let's say I have a goal. My goal is I want to get a certain amount of carbohydrates in a day. Okay. So let's say I want to get 300 grams of carbs in a day. So here's what I'm going to do. With 300 grams of carbs, I'm going to do this. Let's say we start with some bananas. And I'm going to go to ounces. I'm going to go 16 ounces of banana, right? So let's plug that in. Boom. So that's 103 grams of carbs right there, 16 ounces. So that's like around 4, maybe 5 bananas or something like that, depending on the size. If there's smaller bananas, it could be even 6 bananas, right? So I basically weigh them out on the food scale. Now, what I do is I actually peel the bananas. So I get the food scale, and then I put like a bowl on top, right? And basically I turn the scale on after I put the bowl on top. So it zeroes out. So even though the bowl is sitting on top of the scale, it's not factoring in the weight of the bowl, right? So it's zeroed out. And then after that, I'm going to peel a banana. I'm going to put it on top. And I'm going to keep peeling bananas and put them on top until I get my 16 ounces. Okay? And then from there, essentially, that's going to be my meal. Now, if I'm going to pack it up and take it somewhere to go, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put those bananas in a Ziploc bag that's just big enough to fit those bananas. Right? So, for example, maybe like a 16-ounce Ziploc bag. All right? So that'd be one meal prep. Boom. Real easy. Don't got to cook anything. So these 16 ounces of bananas is 404 calories, 103 grams of carbs, 5 grams of protein, and 1.5, basically 1 gram of fat. So now let's say in addition to that, now let's say I have a variety of fruits. Okay. I've got grapes, I've got tangerines, I got grapefruit, I got a mix of different fruits, right? So what can I do here? For a grapefruit, let's say I do one grapefruit. So I'm gonna do grapefruit, okay? And this grapefruit is a really big deal if you got high blood pressure. So let's say I take a grapefruit and I want like, let's say I get like, let's say 10 ounces of grapefruit. one grapefruit is around like 10 ounces of something when you peel it, right? So I would peel it first. So I peel the grapefruit, and let's say that grapefruit is 10 ounces. Well, let's say it's a big grapefruit. Let's say it's 12 ounces. So I'm gonna do 12 ounces of grapefruit there, okay? And that 12 ounces of grapefruit is 36 grams of carbs. So I'm gonna add a little bit more, right? Because I'm trying to get to 300 grams of carbs. So now I'm gonna do tangerines, okay? So I got these little tiny tangerines, and I want my ounces in that. So let's say I'm gonna add in, let's say I add in 12 ounces of tangerines, okay? So 12 ounces of tangerines is gonna give me 82 grams of carbs, okay? And then from there, what I'm gonna do is let me see if I add in some grapes now, okay? So I'm gonna do some grapes. Let's say I do 8 ounces of grapes. So that's 123 grams of carbs. It's a bit much, right? So basically what I would do here is I can reduce the tangerines. Let's say I can reduce the tangerines to 8 ounces of tangerines. And then let's say for the grapes, let's say if I was to bring that down to 7 ounces of grapes. Boom. Okay, so you can toggle it like that. So now right here, I can see how much I got. So I haven't even peeled any fruit yet. All I'm doing is mapping out my meals first in Chronometer before I do any kind of meal prep. So I can see how much of everything I need. So, okay, cool. So I want to get 12 ounces of grapefruit. I'm going to get 8 ounces of tangerine. And I'm going to get 7 ounces of grapes. Boom, right? 102 grams of carbs. That's 400 calories, 6 grams of protein, and 1 gram of fat. All right? So now so far, this is 2 meals, 800 calories. All right? So now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to map out the third meal. Oh, by the way, this is another neat trick you can do. Okay. Let me add some, I want to add some greens. So let me add red butter lettuce. Okay, so I'm gonna add some red butter lettuce, and I'm gonna put in like 5 ounces of red butter lettuce. Boom. Boom. Okay, so now basically I've added in some red butter lettuce to that, right? So it's more of a fruit salad. So I'm adding some greens to it. It's that extra fiber and water content, extra vitamin A, extra vitamin K, right? A little bit of vitamin E, etc. Right? Omega-3 essential fatty acids, that type of thing. Okay. So now so far I got 209 grams of carbs here and 12 grams of protein, right, in these 2 meals. Now let's go here. Let's continue. Now let's say I got some berries and I got some kiwis, and I want a meal that's a little lower in the glycemic index for this final fruit bowl. So what I'll do, let's go to blueberries. And for the blueberries, as far as ounces are concerned, let me say, let me do 6 ounces of blueberries. And then for strawberries, let's add some strawberries in here. For strawberries, I'll do 6 ounces of strawberries. Okay. And let's say, let me get some more berries in here. Let's say I get blackberries. Let's throw some blackberries in there. Right? And the berries are phenomenal because, let's see. Looking through this database here, there we go. Blackberries raw. That's what I want. 6 ounces of blackberries. 54 grams of carbs. And now let's throw some kiwis in there. All right, kiwis is on my list. It's one of my top favorite fruits. Kiwis are phenomenal. So now let's say for this here, let's start off with 8 ounces of kiwi. Okay. So now for this here, what I can do is, let's say I want this to be more of a strawberry dominant diet. I can do that. So I can add like 8 ounces. So I get more volume of the strawberries. And then for the kiwis, let's say I wanted to add like 10 ounces of kiwis or so. So let me do that. And now that's 100 grams of carbs right there. So we got blueberries, blackberries, strawberries. We got kiwis, right? So you can mix all of that in the bowl. 416 calories, 8 grams of protein, 100 grams of carbs, and 4 grams of fat. So now this is a total of 1,236 calories. We got 21 grams of protein, 309 grams of carbs, and 6 grams of fat. All right. So far, the macros are 6% protein, 90% carbs, and 4% fat. All right. So we basically, this is meal 1, 2, and 3. Get little bags, little 16-ounce Ziploc bags, right? And boom, 3 meals. Prepped and ready, good to go. Now, in addition, what you could do, and I'm gonna save that for later actually, because I'm gonna talk through some of the methodology. Now, let's say primarily your goal, you wanted to drop body fat and improve insulin sensitivity. You wanted to improve your kidney health, your liver health, and that type of thing, right? That's what your goal was. You want to detox your body. Well, this would be a good detox right here. Okay. Now, of course, you would adjust the portion sizes according to whatever your goal is, right? But it's basically, this is a very energy rich kind of thing right here. This is really good to flush toxins and whatnot out of your body, waste and whatnot out of your body. So this is phenomenal here. Okay. Um, Now what you can do as well is you can add greens to this if you want, right? You can add another 5 ounces of greens to this as well. Okay. So you can actually do to this, you can add, let's say we do chopped romaine. Let's say we do some romaine lettuce. Okay, so we do some romaine, we do like 5 ounces of romaine. Let's say we do that. So boom. So now we're up to 1260. Now here's the interesting thing. If we scroll down with just those meals there, we got 140% of fiber, we got 50% of water. Okay. We've maxed out vitamin B6, we've maxed out folate, vitamin A, vitamin C is at 741%. Vitamin E is up to 66% so far, vitamin K 302%. And then for calcium, we got 49%, copper 193%, iron 113%, magnesium 80%, manganese, right, 199%. Okay, not bad for only 1,200 calories. Okay, and then potassium 162%. So now this is just 1,260 calories. Okay. For me personally, if this would be mapped out for me and my carbohydrate goal was 314, and I wanted to prioritize foods that were going to improve my insulin sensitivity throughout the day and help to flush toxins out of my body and load my body up with antioxidants, this would be a great thing to eat from the early morning through the afternoon. And then in the evening, you can have a meal where you're getting in your fats and things like that, right? So now here's an example of what you can do here. So let's say my final meal of the day, I'm gonna do like a big salad, right? So I'm actually gonna start off, let's say we do baby spinach. And with the baby spinach, I'm gonna do, oh, come on, I'm gonna do another 5 ounces of the greens there. And then I'm gonna add cucumber. I'm gonna add, let's say 8 ounces of cucumber. Oh, oops. Not 8 cucumbers, just 8 ounces of cucumber. All right, so I'm gonna do that there. And then I'm gonna add some bell pepper, some diced bell pepper. And I'm gonna add in, let's say 3 ounces of bell pepper. All right. And then from there, let's say I added some red onion. And for the onion, I'm gonna add in 1 ounce. And from there, let's say we added some cashews. And for cashews, I'm gonna add in 2 ounces. And then for sunflower seed kernels, I'm gonna add in 1 ounce. Okay. So far, this is 591 calories. So far I'm at 1851 as far as my caloric intake, right? I burn anywhere between 24 and 2,800 calories a day, depending on how active I am for that day, right? So far this meal is 21 grams of protein, 47 carbs, and 41 grams of fat, right? So we can actually add another ounce of nuts to this. let's say here, I'm going to add hemp seeds. All right, so I'm going to add in, let's say 3 tablespoons of hemp seeds, right? So I'm going to add that. Now we're up to 2017 calories. Okay, so this is 53 grams of protein, 363 grams of carbs, 63 grams of fat. Okay, so now this is 9% protein, 65% carbs, 26% fat. So far, I've reached 90% of my macronutrients for the day. The only thing I'm missing here is B12, which we're going to get to, and vitamin D, which is what we're going to get to. The calcium we've almost reached, and the selenium we've almost reached. Okay, so little finishing touches we're going to add here. So now, from here, I'm going to add some nutritional yeast. Okay, so I'm going to add in 2 tablespoons of nutritional yeast. And I'm going to add in some mushrooms. So I'm going to add in some baby bella mushrooms. And I'm going to add in 6 ounces of baby bella mushrooms. Now check this out. The mushrooms, look at that. The mushrooms are 6 grams of protein and 6 grams of carbs. Okay. So now we're to 372 grams of carbs, 64 grams of protein, and 63 grams of fat. So the protein is now at 11%. Carbs are at 64%, and the fats are at 26%. So some pretty solid macros there for a raw diet. So this is more so like fully raw, for the exception of the dry roasted nuts, right? But essentially everything other than that is fully raw. So now the only thing that we're not 100% on here is the calcium and the selenium, which is fine because you don't need a lot of selenium, right? You can actually make up for that on other days with other foods. So you can alternate. And then I'm at 82% of the lysine, so I've pretty much reached that for the day, right? I don't necessarily need to cap out at 100% of everything. I could if I wanted to, right? So for example, we have here the cashews makes up 17% of my lysine, and the hemp seeds make up 14% of my lysine. If I really wanted to increase my lysine intake here, what I could do is I can raise this to 7 ounces of baby spinach. And that's 86% lysine. And then I could increase, let's say instead of doing 3 tablespoons of hemp seeds, I do 4. So now that brings me up to 91% of lysine. Okay. So then from there, so now my fats are at 68%. Okay. So if I really wanted to, let's see what else I can add here for the lysine. All right. Okay. So what I could do is I could add another ounce of cashews, which would actually be phenomenal because it's a very tryptophan-rich food, so it's good to eat closer to bedtime. Or I can do sunflower seed kernels as well and get more vitamin E and selenium. So let's say if I add another ounce of the pumpkin seed kernels. Now what happens is my lysine is at 99% and selenium is at 133%. Okay. The reason why I'm not worried about maxing out the calcium intake is because diet, you don't really want high levels of calcium in your diet. The reason why is because, look at this. Of all the alkalizing minerals, right? Magnesium, 247%, manganese, 494%. Okay. Phosphorus, 326%, potassium, 245%. So I already have, so basically, like if you look at phosphorus, phosphorus is really good for maintaining the level of calcium that is inside your lean tissue. So you don't need as much calcium in your diet because you have all of these other nutrients that help to preserve the calcium levels that are already inside your lean tissues. So magnesium does that, manganese does that, and phosphorus does that. Okay. So you don't need the extra calcium on top. Okay. So basically, it's that zero sum game thing. So you don't necessarily need a lot of calcium in your diet. It's the same thing as like you don't need a lot of protein in a raw diet because a raw diet is really good for maintaining the protein structures that are already in your body. So less oxidative stress means less cellular breakdown, which means less protein loss. So you have proteins, and proteins break down under oxidative stress. Okay. And therefore, you need more protein in order to replace that. Now, if you have a diet that is really rich in antioxidants, those antioxidants protect the protein structures and prevents them from breaking down. So therefore, you need less protein in your diet because your diet is really good at preserving those protein structures. Okay, so that's essentially how that works. So it's like, as far as your budget, if you spend a lot of money because you're kind of irresponsible with your money, you're always buying stuff impulsively, well then you need to make a lot more money in order to compensate. But if you live kind of frugally and you're responsible and even strict with the amount of money that you spend, you don't spend recklessly, well then you don't need to make as much money because you're really good at preserving the amount of money you currently have. So it works the same way in nutrition, right? And so that's an example of that. You was to add more calcium into this, adding more calcium, it just increases the likelihood of increasing cholesterol, atherosclerosis, gallstone formation, kidney stone formation, etc. Right? Now, of course, calcium doesn't like create stones in a vacuum on its own. It's a small part of it, right? Um, in order to get more calcium in your diet, you would either have to supplement with it, and basically you would just have high amounts of it from the supplement in your bloodstream, which is problematic. But if you increase saturated fat and protein intake, now that increases the risk of stone formation and acid crystallization, right? So there's things like that you'd have to consider. That's why you don't need to maximize for every single thing. It's just not necessary. So this right here is 2,330 calories, right? So now if you look at my caloric burn here, um, according to my Fitbit and my total caloric burn for the day, I am projected to burn 2,946 calories for the day. So if I'm at 2,330, this is actually a caloric deficit. So I can add even more to this. If I was trying to gain weight, then I would have to add more carbs. That's essentially what I would do. I wouldn't add more fat, but I would add more carbs to my diet, right? If I wanted to like gain more lean mass. So for those of you who are trying to build muscle mass, one of your best things that you can do is actually increase the amount of carbohydrate intake. Okay. So my current protein intake right now, and this is without any protein shakes or anything, this is 74 grams of protein. For me personally, I need around like 60 and change as far as protein, right? um, so my lean mass, I am about, what am I? Let me see. Let me do the math right quick. Let me do my math right quick, okay? So my lean mass right now is 145 pounds. So 145 divided by 2.2, so I'm 65.9. So basically 66 kilograms of lean mass. So if I'm going by 1 gram of protein per kilogram of lean mass, I need around 66 grams of protein, right? So I'm above that actually here with the 74 grams. All right. And so this is basically like a real raw diet, right? And the fats are a bit higher. The fats are at 30%. Um, and so basically to balance this out, I would have to do things like this. Normally I eat a lot more than 16 ounces of bananas, right? So it would probably be somewhere along the lines of 24%, 24 ounces. So now that brings us to 2,532 calories, and I'm 433 grams of protein and 76 grams of protein. Okay. So then that brings my fat down to 7% of my macros, and my protein is at 11%, and carbs is at 62. So then from here, let's say if we go to the grapefruit, the tangerines, and whatnot, I can actually increase the amount of tangerines to 12 ounces. And I can increase the grapes to 10 ounces, right? So that would be 36 grams of carbs. So now I'm at 2651, 464 calories. I mean, 464 grams of carbs, 78 grams of protein. Okay. Carbs are now at 64%, fats down to 26%, and then protein is at 10%. Now, going even more, because if I want to get to, to match my 2,900 caloric burn, I need to add a little bit more here. So I can actually do 8 ounces of blueberries. I can do 9 ounces, no, 8 ounces of blackberries. And then I can do mm, 14 ounces of kiwis. That's still kind of low, but 2,776. Now I'm at 494 grams of carbs and 80 grams of protein and 84 grams of fat. So now my macros are at 26% fat, 65% carbs, 10% protein, right? So now basically I can modify my meals to get me to the number that I want, right? So I can increase if I want to go a little bit more carbohydrates. So my kiwis is 16 ounces. That's 143 grams of carbs in that meal. And so now that brings my fats down to 25% of my macros, right? Which is kind of where I want it, right? And now I'm at 2,811 calories. Okay. So now if we scroll down here, now look at this. The calcium is at 97%. Okay. So all these other numbers are actually increasing as well, right? And now with my lysine is now at 110% as opposed to 99%, right? So when I'm eating enough in order to match my energy needs, which chronometer factors everything in, right? As far as your macronutrient needs. So my macronutrient needs for me personally on an active day would be anywhere around like 502, 503 grams of carbs. Okay, a lot of carbs. But look at the fats, it's only 84 grams of fat. Not a whole lot, right? Um, so just in order to maintain skeletal muscle mass alone, I would need around 300 grams of carbs, right? So if we do the math behind that, okay, and let's say I am, what did we say, 66 kilograms of lean mass. So basically, um, I am 33 kilograms of lean mass, let's say. So basically 33 and 1 little muscle can store 15 grams of glycogen, right? Glycogen is basically stored glucose. So we do 33 times 15. So 33 times 15 would give me 495 grams of carbohydrates that I would need to consume. So basically, and that's just to refill skeletal muscle tissue. Okay, that's not even including the amount of glucose that my brain uses and the amount of glucose that my nervous system uses. Okay. And it's also not even including skeletal muscle tissue usage of glycogen, right? So 495. Okay. Now let's say my brain uses like 25% of all of the glucose I consume, which usually is around 25%, right? So basically what I would need to do is at 495, just to show you what I'm talking about. 495, and then let's say we add 25% to that number, that gives us 618. Now, 1 gram of carbohydrates is 4 calories. So if we do 618 and we multiply that by 4, we get 2,472 calories. So my brain and skeletal muscle tissue burn over 2,400 calories, basically, according to the math, right? Or not burn, but just require that amount of glucose. A lot of energy, okay? So if the number 503 grams of carbs seems like a lot to you, it's really not when you actually do the math, okay? And then when you combine that with something like alternate day fasting, which I do, then pretty much I'm depleting my glycogen, my stored glycogen in liver and stored glycogen inside my fat cells during those fasting days, which now causes me to be even more insulin sensitive and increases my glucose demand for the following day. Okay. So this is an example of how this shakes out here. Okay. And you can do a lot of different, you can structure this a lot of different ways. It's like, let's say if you're a diabetic, let me get rid of this last meal. Okay. So I'm gonna get rid of this last meal. We're gonna start at that 1,741. But instead, what we're gonna do is, matter of fact, let's do this. I'll give you a great example of how this shakes out. Let's do some red lentils. Let's do some red lentil soup. We're going to do 1 cup of red lentils measured dry. We're going to do the mushrooms. So we're going to do the baby bella mushrooms. We're going to do 6 ounces. And let's see, as far as ounces are concerned, where they at? Okay, there we go. 6 ounces of baby bella mushrooms. It could even be more than that because you're cooking the mushrooms down with this meal. So you can actually eat more. It could be like 8 ounces of mushrooms, right? So we do that. And then let's say we do some super firm tofu, okay, to make it like a chicken noodle soup kind of thing. So we'll do super firm tofu. And let's say we do 8 ounces of super firm tofu. Actually, that's a lot. We could do, let's say we do 4 ounces. All right. So now this is 2,725 calories, but look at the macros. Look at this, 15% protein, 77% carbs, and only 9% fat. So the fats are actually very low on this one, okay? So we can actually add a little bit more dietary fat to this to kind of even things out. So let's say if I want my fats to be, let's say, and look at this, omega-3 essential fatty acids. Look at this, 37% of my omega-3 is coming from the tofu. All right. That would be classified as a healthy fat. Now, I wouldn't suggest the super firm tofu for women who have hormonal issues, heavy menstrual cycle, fibroids, things like that, right? And the reason why is because I wouldn't risk the goitrogens of it. It's not an estrogen thing necessarily, but there are certain chemical compounds in it that can have some adverse. You can have some adverse reactions to that concentration of soybeans, right? But this is phenomenal actually for men. Okay. For women, it would be. I would recommend something a little bit different, right? Which I can get into. So now look, check this out, right? Now the selenium is a little lacking here, and the calcium is not as high, right? And the vitamin E is at 99%, so a little different, right? But still, this is pretty solid. But here, what we'll do is we'll add that nutritional yeast. But for when we want to make like a veggie bouillon, we want to make like a cheesy, savory veggie bouillon, we can add a 1/4 cup to that. And so now we're 805 calories, 119, basically 120 grams of protein because it's 119.8, and 573 grams of carbs because only 26 grams of fat. Look at this. The fats are at 8%. So I could actually reduce some of I don't want to reduce too much fruit intake, but I could shave it down a slight bit, right? Just to even things out. But I'm not really going to mess around with that a whole lot right now. So now basically, this is some pretty good macros. And of course, the omega-6s are going to be a lot lower because of the low fat content. This would be an intelligent strategy to follow if you're pre-diabetic or diabetic and you're trying to improve insulin sensitivity, drop body fat, and build muscle at the same time. This is more like an insulin sensitivity approach. Okay. Look at this. Thiamine, 1,221%. Thiamine is very important for improving insulin sensitivity, right? Thiamine is needed in order for your body to use sugar as energy on a cellular level, okay? Riboflavin, also really important to use glucose and fat as and convert that into energy, right? Riboflavin is very important for that. Niacin also, right? So this B1, 2, and 3, very important. Niacin is also important for vasodilation, right? Which is needed for healthy liver function, kidney function, and that type of thing, right? So the niacin count is actually pretty significant here with that. Niacin, a lot of bodybuilders supplement with niacin. They'll take it like as a pre-workout, right? Because it's really good for vascular health and really, really optimizing blood flow. Folate is really good for brain chemistry. Okay, so if you want to have really healthy brain chemistry, you want to reverse dopamine resistance, anxiety, and depression. Folate is really important to get into your diet. Okay, especially if you're pregnant and nursing a child. Okay, that folate is really important. Vitamin A, look at this, 113%. Vitamin A is really important for balancing out sex hormones and having even pigmentation and melanin. Okay, so vitamin A is really important for that. Also, vitamin A is really important for preventing the growth of fibroids. So if you got fibroid issues, uterine issues, having that vitamin A in your diet is really important, right? Vitamin E is also really important for regulating. When I say regulating, what I mean is not making sure it's not too low or too high. That's what I mean about regulation, right? So whenever you hear that phrase regulate, that's what they mean, right? It means preventing it from going too high or going too low. Vitamin K, 402%. Vitamin K is really important for preventing the development of autoimmune disease or triggering autoimmune disease. Also, really good for preventing infections, bacterial, viral, fungal infections, that kind of thing. So that vitamin K is really important. And it's really important for maintaining the health of your gut microbiome. All right. So just a few things here. Copper. Now, the copper, having a diet that is abundant in copper is really important for dropping body fat and keeping it off. Copper increases lipolysis, which is the breakdown of fat to use for energy, and it reduces or inhibits lipogenesis, which is the formation of new fat cells. All right, so copper is really important for that. And then look at this iron, 396% of iron, really important for reversing anemia. So for anemia, you need adequate levels of iron, copper, vitamin C, and B12. And look at this, B12, 1250%, vitamin C, 1001%, copper, 596%, and iron, 396%. All right. So I can go here all day, but basically this is just a few examples, right? Of how you would plan your diet first before you prep. So plan and then prep. So once you have this laid out, then basically all you got to do is break out your favorite knife and set out your portion sizes for your fruits. And then basically you eat your fruits throughout the day. And then at the end of the day, you have all your proteins and whatnot, right? So you can cook your lentils that you had soaking throughout the day, or whatever kind of beans or split peas or whatever you want to eat. And then your mushrooms, you throw it in the stew along with the super firm tofu, the nutritional yeast and whatnot. And if you want to add some greens, you can do. Let me give you two options. Let's start with bok choy. So with bok choy, and we'll do 6 ounces of bok choy. So we add the bok choy, and now look at this. It increases the vitamin A content even further, right? So now look at this. The bok choy, 42%. Romaine lettuce, 66%. Grapefruit, 22%, right? So these are your vitamin A. Okay. Yeah, so there we have it, right? I'm not going to hold y'all up too much, but yeah, so this is why this is really important. You get to map out everything. When I make diet plans for people, I'm like, okay, what is our goal behind our diet plan? Are we trying to reverse kidney disease, fatty liver disease? Are we trying to build muscle? Are we trying to drop body fat? Are we trying to reduce autoimmune disease triggers as much as possible to reverse autoimmune disease? Things like that. Are we trying to balance out hormones, etc., right? And so basically, I'm picking my foods. And check this out. For those of you who have been watching me long enough, you know how much I stress eating your colors, right? So your colors are violet, red, orange, yellow, green, right? Banana, yellow. Grapefruit, orange. Tangerines, kind of in between orange and yellow. Grapes, that can cover your red or your green. Depending on what color grapes you get. Or if you get black grapes, that's violet. Your romaine lettuce, green. Or your baby butter lettuce, right? Your red butter lettuce, that's also violet and kind of red and also green. It's a mix of both. Blueberries, violet. Strawberries, red. Blackberries, violet. Kiwis, green or yellow if golden. Romaine lettuce, green. Lentils, orange, right? And your baby bella mushrooms are like brown and white. right? Kind of. And I'm not a big fan of non-pigmented foods, generally speaking. These they aren't really non-pigmented per se, but non-pigmented foods should be at like a minimum, right? This is why I'm not like huge on like um, white foods or things like that. There are exceptions though, right? So like for example, white potatoes, even though I'm more partial to sweet potatoes or like basmati rice or things like that. But those aren't like a significant portion of the diet. Um, and then the bok choy, green once again. So in this diet plan, the colors are included. And now if we look here, look how many different types of foods there are. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Right. So I'm always talking about like 10 to 20 different types of foods a day or 10 to 15 different types of foods a day. That would be an example of this. Okay. All right. Folks, hit the like button. Like the stream if you like the stream. Okay. With the meal planning thing, I do that a lot with members, right? So if you're really interested in the meal planning thing and have it and getting deep into the science of nutrition and all of that type of stuff, and you want to learn my methodology, join my 12-week mentorship. Okay. Hit the link in the description of this video and join my 12-week mentorship. There's also the 12-week mentorship that I have up right now that comes with a custom diet plan made for you. So we have a call, you tell me what your goals are, your body measurements and things like that, and I create a custom diet plan for you. So you get that custom diet plan, and then you also get the 12-week mentorship so that you can learn my methodology, training methodology, nutrition methodology, mindset methodology, and then we do a member exclusive Thursday night live stream. Okay, we do live Q&A, meal planning. We go pretty deep. Okay, so if you're serious about your goals and all of that type of stuff, that's a big deal. All right, let me catch up with y'all in these comments. Can this diet heal my anxiety disorder? This is really good for anxiety. Yes, absolutely. I've got a dysregulated nervous system. Yeah, definitely. I would say that, yeah, all of the things that I've talked about in this diet would really help you. If you want to learn more or you want to book a call with me, hit the link in the description of this video. You can also book a call with me. Okay. That protein fact is good. Wow. Yeah. What usually the weekly budget for a diet like this? It really depends because some foods I buy in bulk, and then the produce I pretty much buy that kind of in bulk. But I mean, you can only buy but so much at a time because it's a lot heavier. We're talking about like several pounds of fruit a day. But like I could just get like a ton of bananas. Bananas are super cheap. Grapes are not really that expensive either. So like a pound of grapes would be somewhere in between $4 and $5 around. Like let's say $5 for $5 for 2 pounds. Okay. So let's say if I eat in a week, within a week I eat probably 6 pounds of grapes. So like around $15 worth of grapes, right? If my math is right. The bananas, I eat like 2 pounds of bananas a day. I'm doing alternate day fasting. That really cuts my budget pretty significantly. But yeah, so basically, let's say if I'm eating the bananas, I'm eating anywhere from 6 pounds of bananas a week. That's not going to be any more than like $10 a week. Probably like $8 somewhere around there, right? Grapefruit. Yeah, because I'm going through the math now because it changes. Because the thing is that there's certain like dry foods, like the red lentils. I buy like a 20-pound bag of that. It lasts me for a long time. Or like kasha, right? I'll buy like a 10-pound bag of that, right? So yeah, but I would say in general, not to mention grocery shopping for 2 people here, so it's a bit different. So I would say that the weekly grocery bill is around, for the food is around maybe a little under $100 a week. I mean, it could be depending on how you structure it. It could be $60 a week. and up from that. It just depends on how you structure your diet, right? If it's just you can get by on like $40, $60, right? Depending on how you structure things. I have low white blood cell count. Yeah, so if you have a low white blood cell count, it's really important to increase your vitamin K intakes, right? So you want to definitely eat more vitamin K. So grapes are a really good source of vitamin K. Kiwis are a phenomenal source of vitamin K, and then all of your leafy greens are really important. So those are really good sources of vitamin K. And then also copper. If you have a vitamin K rich, vitamin C rich, and then a copper rich diet, that really helps to increase your white blood cell level. And then also improving your sleep quality. All right. Oh, hold on. What does that say? Eating works? I don't know why some of your emojis didn't come up there. Oh, thyroid issues. Sharon Davis, what's going on? Good to see you in here. Um, well, you got to be a bit more specific when you talk about thyroid issues, right? Like a lot of times people get thyroid issues from like heavy metal toxicity, or people get thyroid issues from being chronically underfed. People that have thyroid issues from insulin resistance. So it really depends. I would have to know a bit more about what the issue actually is. Like, is it hypothyroidism? Is it that you don't have a thyroid at all? Is it Graves' disease? Is it Hashimoto's? Right? So I would have to know a bit more about what the issue actually is in order for me to give an answer, or a meaningful answer that is satiating for you, so to speak. Now, as far as nutrient timing, I kind of covered nutrient timing a bit during that, right? But going in even further, typically what I recommend is anywhere from like an 8 to 10 hour eating window. Now, what's really good is if you have like let's say you're doing like a high raw diet, so pretty much your first few meals of the day is just all fruits, and then you have the one more kind of cooked or semi-cooked meal at the end of the day. So basically, all of your foods throughout the day are like water rich, carb rich, antioxidant rich foods. And then you have a more satiating, savory meal with more of your fats and proteins at the end of the day. Right. And that's a good way to maintain the insulin sensitivity you need to drop body fat and build muscle and all that type of stuff, as well as reverse things like thyroid issues, anxiety, depression, dopamine resistance. And dopamine resistance, essentially, you have dopamine sensitivity, which means that um, life is more potent, right? Life is way more enjoyable when you're more dopamine sensitive. So, for example, you're dopamine sensitive and you eat like a piece of fruit, it feels insanely good. Like it just tastes so good. It's so rewarding to eat it, right? When you're dopamine resistant, you're like, I mean, the fruit doesn't really, it tastes fine. It tastes okay, I guess, right? But you'd rather eat cakes and cookies, right? Because you're a drug addict, because you're dopamine resistant. So you need a stronger dose of sugar in order to feel a hit, right? So when you're dopamine resistant, you don't really enjoy things the way that you should, right? It's kind of like dopamine resistance. Let's say pancakes is your favorite food, right? I've made this analogy before. You love pancakes. And let's say you only eat pancakes maybe once every 3 months. And so when you do eat pancakes, just even the thought that you're about to eat pancakes, it's like, oh my God, I'm about to have pancakes. Yeah. Right. And you're like insane about the pancakes. If you eat pancakes every day for every meal, you'll hate pancakes. You will get sick of them. You won't feel anything from those pancakes. It's just all right already with the pancakes. That's dopamine resistance, right? When you watch a movie on Netflix, it's an event. You're like, oh, I'm about to watch a movie. Oh man, this is gonna be good. But if you're watching movies on Netflix all the time, the movies become less and less and less entertaining. to the point you watching movies, you're like barely even paying attention. You're scrolling on your phone and whatnot while the movie's playing. Is because the experience of it is not, you're not as receptive to it. You're resistant. It's not as stimulating, right? So basically, dopamine sensitivity is basically when you decongest that nervous system overload, right? So you may want to do like a media fast, right? Like one of the things that I like about doing alternate day fasting is when you go 24 hours without eating, or you go 36 hours without eating, and then you eat again, food tastes amazing. You can smell an orange, right? Like if you're deep into a fast and somebody walks in the room and they're holding an orange in their hand, you're like, is that an orange? It's insane. It's just smell. You can smell it before it's even peeled. You can smell it, right? You can have a neighbor cooking a food or something like that. You're like, oh, that smells so good. You can identify and smell every herb and spice and flavor, and you know exactly what it is. Your senses are heightened, right? And the cool thing, like when you're in a, you know, you're insulin sensitive and you're dopamine sensitive when you're just locked in, dialed in. Like probably you're looking at me right now, like, all right, he's a little amped up. I look caffeinated right now, right? I'm locked in. I'm probably talking real fast too, and I'm all of this. Y'all probably like, I don't know what he's talking about because he's talking too fast. If I am talking too fast, let me know. But essentially, when you're insulin sensitive and you're dopamine sensitive, you're just on it. Your brain is like your brain is like a freight train. It's like a quantum computing processor, right? Like I am light years ahead of Nvidia right now. Okay, yo, my brain is galactic right now. It's just sparks, lightning, explosions, bam, bam, bam. Right? That's how it feels. It's a really good feeling. Like when you hear like these veteran like raw vegans and stuff like that, they'll explain it like that. They're like, I have so much energy. I feel so alert. I sleep so much better. I don't even have to sleep as long. It feels crazy. That's what that is. Like, if I look crazy to you right now, it's probably because you're more dopamine resistant, and I'm like the opposite of that, right? So, like, for me, boredom feels like, and I don't know what not being motivated feels like, right? I'm either motivated or extremely motivated. It's one of the two. Those are my modes. But I don't really. For me, if I feel unmotivated, that's like a five fire alarm. That means, yo, I need to chill out for the day because I'm massively burned out. And the only time I get like that is like I'm staying up too late. I have too much exposure to social media and that type of thing, right? I got to put my phone down and that type of thing. I got to go outside and get more sun exposure and that whole type of thing. And you got to do these things. It's not just about your diet, right? If you don't feel motivated, you need to spend more time outside. You need to spend more time in the cold. You need to do more deep breathing. You got to log off the internet. Okay. Only go on the internet to watch my streams. I'm kidding when I say that. I'm not really. I'm kind of kidding. Not too much. I'm kind of serious about that. Kidding, but I'm not kidding that much. It's only a little bit, but there's a grain of truth in it. I'm dead serious. Um, yeah, so I think that's what I want to cover about nutrient timing and the order of your foods, right? You don't want to be up eating late. So you shouldn't be up at 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock and not eating. Don't do that. Okay. You don't want to be loading up your gut and then go to sleep on it. Don't do that. Um, because that'll eat into your weight loss. It could even cut into your sleep quality. Okay. Um, you got to empty out your gut before you go to sleep. All right. You don't want to wake up feeling like you're full. Supplementation, and this is going to be the final thing that I end on. I'm going to run through this real quick. What supplements am I taking and why? I'm not against supplementation. So number one supplement for me is going to be pea protein isolate. I'm a big fan of pea protein isolate. It's easy. I don't just like the protein, the pea protein isolate just in a vacuum, but there's certain things that I like to make with it. It's a big part of why I like it. Um, I like this is smoothie that I make. It's pea protein isolate. It's peanut butter powder, and then I put in cacao powder, hemp seeds, um, an ounce, like a quarter teaspoon of sea salt, 8 ounces of plant-based milk, and like a drop of stevia. And the reason why I like that is because it tastes like chocolate peanut butter milk. It's like a thick, filling chocolate peanut butter milk. And I've always liked chocolate peanut butter milk. Ever since I was a kid. Love it. So for me, it makes me feel good. It brings joy to my life. And of course, extra protein to my life, right? But that's why I also like I don't get flavored protein powder. I don't like flavored protein. I don't want anything added. I want one ingredient. Peas. I like the single ingredient stuff. Even my pre-workout, I make it myself. I don't want it prepackaged. I'm gonna get into that. So that's my smoothie. I love that. That's like my morning chocolate peanut butter milk. I love it. It's amazing. Another thing that's really good is coconut yogurt, naked pea protein, and then like 6 to 8 ounces of blueberries, strawberries, and then like chia seeds, maybe like a tablespoon of agave, and like a quarter teaspoon of sea salt, and you blend it, you puree it in a blender, and you leave it in a bowl overnight. It's like a smoothie bowl. It's really good. It's a strawberry blue, like a fruit coconut yogurt bowl. It's amazing. And it's another really good one. It's a hit. And you can add cacao powder to it to add a chocolate flavor. So it's like blueberry chocolate smoothie bowl, right? Or like I like to do like a hemp and flax, a chocolate hemp and flax smoothie bowl. I like the pea protein for the smoothie bowls. I'm a big fan of smoothie bowls, right? That morning smoothie bowls, amazing. So there's certain recipes. That's why I like it. Right, so you get like a quarter cup of ground flax seeds and a quarter cup of hemp seeds, and then like you get the PB Fit, the powdered peanuts, the naked pea protein, right? The unflavored pea protein isolate, and then you get like cacao powder, and then you get like a teaspoon of Ceylon cinnamon, and you get like a quarter teaspoon or a half teaspoon of sea salt, and you add like either stevia, like liquid stevia, or agave, or not even agave actually. You can add maple syrup, right? And add like a teaspoon or whatever for little sweetness. You puree that up, and you can add fruit on top. It's amazing, right? And that's basically like the peanut butter chocolate omega-3 essential fatty acid smoothie bowl. So you get an abundance of those polyunsaturated fats, protein, antioxidants, iron, copper, tons of magnesium, manganese, selenium, zinc, really phenomenal stuff, right? So there's different things, right? So I'm a big fan of that because of the recipes. Then there's nutritional yeast. I don't know if nutritional yeast is like a seasoning or a supplement. It's kind of like a cross between the two because it's a good source of B12 as well as a variety of other B vitamins, and it's like a few grams of protein with it as well. And that is vegan crack, right? Nooch. It's a big deal. I love that stuff. I put it on salads. Like I put it on my like when I make a salad and I make um that honey mustard seasoning, that honey mustard sauce that I pour over a salad, that nutty, you know, vegetable rich salad, with all the peppers and onions and all of that in there, and I put the nooch, and then I put like that spicy brown mustard and the agave and whatnot, and mix all of that in. Oh, it's so good, right? Or like the that red lentil veggie bouillon and that super firm tofu. It's like chicken. It's crazy. It's got that. And if you get the super firm tofu, you take it out of the patch, you drain the water, and you leave it in the fridge overnight. It thickens up. The tofu, it kind of thickens up. And so you make that red lentil veggie bouillon, and you put parsley, thyme, put some black pepper. You load it up with garlic, right? That garlic powder you put in there. Um, and then you put like a little bit of brown sugar in it, right, to give it a little bit of sweetness. And that salty with the sweetness, with the bitter from the lentils, and then the garlic. Oh, it's so good. It's amazing. It's like a real legit soup. And when you put and you finely chop, like you finely chop and dice the super firm tofu, and you put that in the soup, it's like chicken. It's amazing. And then with the mushrooms, people are like, "Oh, well, can you eat mushrooms raw?" I eat them raw. If you don't want to eat them raw, you can microwave. So you can measure out your ounces of mushrooms. You put them in the microwave for a little bit, right? Just like a few seconds, 15 seconds, something like that. Um, and then you dice them up and you put them in the soup. It's legit like a chicken noodle soup. And you add like your greens and whatnot. Don't cook the greens down much. You just want to steam them a little bit, right? Let them soften up in the heat of the soup. And it's legit like a creamy, cheesy chicken noodle soup. It's phenomenal. And so I like the nooch for that. Oh, by the way, going back to the protein smoothie, because there's another thing I like to put in it. Either magnesium malate or magnesium glycinate. Phenomenal stuff, but unflavored. I like to get my stuff unflavored. I don't really get anything flavored. Magnesium malate. Now, magnesium is phenomenal stuff, and malic acid is phenomenal stuff. And magnesium malate is a combination of the two. It's a great way to add extra magnesium to your diet, especially if you're vitamin D deficient and you're supplementing with a high dose of vitamin C between 5,000 10,000 IUs. In order to raise your vitamin D levels, you need magnesium. Okay. If you're supplementing with a high dosage of vitamin D and you're not increasing your magnesium along with it, you can deplete your magnesium source as a result. Okay. It's a big mistake people make. So adding that magnesium to that smoothie bowl or that chocolatey peanut butter protein shake thing, that's a great way of getting that extra magnesium in your diet, right? And then you take that vitamin D3 along with that smoothie. Great strategy. For my pre-workout, I do straight up caffeine powder. 1 gram of caffeine powder, right? Then I do like 1 gram of vitamin C, 9 grams of citrulline malate, and 2 grams of taurine. It's a really solid pre-workout. I love that stuff. It's amazing. And then I add like a drop of stevia. It tastes like lime juice. When you add a drop of stevia to it, it adds that sweetness and it becomes lemonade. Citrulline malate is a vasodilator. If you have high blood pressure, you take that, it'll drop your blood pressure, right? It's great for a pre-workout, right? You get a real solid pump from your muscles, right? You get really good training performance with that. It's phenomenal stuff. So that'll light up your brain like a Christmas tree, and you'll get all of this oxygenation and blood flow to your muscle tissue. So you get really, really good, strong muscle contractions, right? So I do that. When you buy a pre-workout off the shelf, a lot of the times they're underdosed. So if you make it yourself, then you basically have more control over the dosage. Now, in addition to that, too, you can add B vitamins. You can add liquid B, liquid B complex. You put like a dropper or something like that in there as well. I add vitamin C because vitamin C reduces muscle fatigue and it helps to protect your cells, your muscular cells, and it helps to clear acid and waste accumulation out of your cells. So it gives you a slight edge as far as improving training performance and training endurance. And then you combine that with the citrulline malate, it increases even more, right? So it has a compounding effect. This is one of my top recommendations for men, especially men who may be dealing with erectile dysfunction. Okay, that magnesium malate is a big deal. And you combine that with taurine, because taurine is good for healing vascular tissue. So when you combine the citrulline and the taurine, it's really good for reversing vascular damage. Okay, venal leakage. That taurine and that citrulline are big. Okay. Going back to the protein smoothie, you can add 5 grams of creatine monohydrate. Creatine monohydrate is it's really good for muscular growth. Basically, your body takes a variety of different amino acids and puts them together to make creatine. Creatine, your body makes like 1 gram of creatine per day, and it stores it inside your muscle tissue. And then when you're training and your body's using creatine, you get creatine expenditure, right? Creatine helps with ATP conversion, right? So basically, your body uses like phosphorus and magnesium and glucose and oxygen and all these different nutrients. And then inside your cells, your body makes energy using those nutrients, right? And that energy molecule is ATP, adenosine triphosphate. And that molecule gets expended, you produce a muscular contraction, and you get ADP, adenosine diphosphate, and then your body will deploy another phosphate molecule, and you get ATP again. And round we go. And creatine facilitates that process, right? It helps with that, right? You also need phosphorus, potassium, magnesium, manganese, a variety of different things, right? But that creatine is really important for that. Creatine is also really good for brain health, right? And creatine has been shown to improve insulin sensitivity in your brain and produce more energy production in your brain, which can combat type 3 diabetes, which is basically diabetes of the brain or Alzheimer's, right? So creatine is phenomenal stuff. So 5 grams a day. The final one is going to be glutamine. Glutamine in particular is really good for healing gut damage and assisting in muscle recovery. Glutamine is a non-essential amino acid. Creatine, the body makes it on its own. Taurine is a non-essential amino acid. A lot of these things that I actually recommend supplementing with are non-essential amino acids. I don't really recommend supplementing with essential amino acids because you can get that from your food. But the non-essential amino acids you may not get as much of because you're not eating meat and things like that. So you're not getting like an abundance of methionine and cysteine, for example, in your diet. You get enough, it's just not really like a big abundance of it. You're not getting pre-made creatine from the foods in your diet. You're not getting pre-made you're getting creatine, your body synthesizes it on its own. You're not getting it from your food necessarily in a pre-made fashion. So supplementing with it is not necessary, it's not essential, but very beneficial, right? So there's that. But glutamine is phenomenal for repairing leaky gut, right? Basically, leaky gut is if you have you have a hyperpermeable gut lining, right? So glutamine helps to repair your intestinal lining, your gut mucosa, helps to improve your gut microbiome, all this type of stuff, right? So really big deal. And then it helps to restore and recover and regenerate muscle tissue. Glutamine is like the most prevalent amino acid in your body, right? Not the most prevalent protein, the most prevalent amino acid, right? Particularly in skeletal muscle tissue in your gut, right? So glutamine is a big deal. As far as the dosage of it, the dosage the minimum effective dosage is 0.3 grams per kilogram of total body weight. Okay. So that's basically the thing there. So for example, so let's say for me, I am 160 pounds. Divide that by 2.2, 72.7. So let's just say 73. And then we multiply that by 0.3, and that gives me 21.9. So basically 22 grams of glutamine a day would be my thing as far as glutamine. You could even supplement with upwards of like 40 grams, right? And that could even be very beneficial for people who have a really badly damaged gut lining, right? So glutamine actually could be really beneficial. It's not a magic bullet, and I wouldn't recommend it for everyone, but it is beneficial in general. There's also scientific studies, and I'm not really going to go through all of this tonight because we're going to be on here till like 9 o'clock at night if I start diving into the literature. And I don't think y'all want to listen to me read jargon because y'all not going to know what I'm talking about. But essentially, glutamine not only is really good for muscle building and muscle recovery and gut and healing your gut, but also hormonal balance. So glutamine has been shown to actually help to improve testosterone levels and decrease cortisol. Improves the ratio of testosterone and cortisol, right? So they did tests with athletes supplementing glutamine, right? So things like that. So there's a whole variety of different benefits of glutamine. Again, not essential but beneficial, right? So I lead with diet and lifestyle, and then you can plug in supplementation to give you like a bit of an edge. And then to improve sleep quality, insulin sensitivity. So if you have high blood pressure, diabetes, fatty liver disease, things like this, it can be a really good idea to drink or to take magnesium glycinate with zinc before bed at night. So you could do like 210 milligrams elemental magnesium and like 15 to 30 milligrams of zinc picolinate before bed at night. Zinc is really important for insulin. Zinc is like it helps to increase growth hormone and improve insulin sensitivity and maintain the health of your pancreas. So zinc is very important to make sure that your pancreas produces insulin, right? So you need the zinc in order to make sure that your pancreas is producing enough insulin and to maintain insulin sensitivity. Zinc is really important for that. And zinc is really important for modulating and regulating blood sugar control. Okay. And when you improve on that you improve in your insulin sensitivity, that has cascading effects that improves brain chemistry and all of that. So when you combine that magnesium and that zinc together, and then especially when you add in glycine, which is magnesium glycinate, is magnesium chelated with glycine, right? So it would be like what, 2 grams of magnesium glycinate, right? It's 2 grams total, but most of it is glycine, right? And then like 12 or 14% of it is elemental magnesium, right? So the magnesium, in order to maximize absorption of the magnesium, you chelate it with an amino acid or like an organic substance, right? Like glycine, and that increases the uptake of it. Same thing with zinc. You bind it to picoline, and then that's how you improve the absorption. So like don't get like zinc oxide, because you're only gonna like absorb like 4% of it. It's gonna be a very minuscule amount. Or like a magnesium citrate. It's just gonna give you diarrhea, right? It's essentially a laxative, right? In magnesium oxide, you're gonna get a very low conversion rate or a very low absorption rate with that, right? So basically, yeah, you get the zinc picolinate and magnesium glycinate. You can combine those together as a sleep aid before bed at night. So rather than taking melatonin and then giving yourself nightmares and heart palpitations, you save yourself the trouble and get something more calming. Okay. Some people may say to me, "Oh, why I supplement with all these chemicals and blah blah." First of all, your body is a soup of chemicals. Just because something's a chemical doesn't mean that it's bad. If you don't want to do it, you don't have to. It's not essential. right? But if it's beneficial and it can improve your quality of life, you may want to consider it. I'm not dogmatic, like, oh, it's not in a herb or a leaf or something. Therefore, if you want to do herbs and leaves, you can too. So instead of doing the zinc magnesium combination, you can do ashwagandha. You can drink ashwagandha tea. That works too, right? Ashwagandha is it is a what's the term? It's an adaptogen. So if your energy is low, it helps to pick you up. If you're too high strung and anxious, it helps to bring you down and calm you out. So ashwagandha you can do in the morning, and you can do at night, or you can do both. Right? Ashwagandha is good for that as well. Valerian root, that's another good sleep aid. Some people, they experience a benefit from it. Some people don't. In my experience, people always have benefits with zinc magnesium combination. People don't always have benefits with the ashwagandha, and people don't always have benefits with the valerian. They don't really experience much of a difference. But the magnesium zinc is a very potent combination with very, very, I don't think there's any downside actually to that combination. So that's why I usually default to it. Mamadou is in the chat. Folks, like the stream. Let's get the likes up in the stream. Drop kick the like button. Smash the like button. Closing out. I know I dropped a lot of information on y'all today. My next stream, I'm probably going to have to get a little heady and talk about discipline, focus, with a hint of tough love. Because, it's a lot of y'all slacking. When September, October, November come rolling around, you holidays and the weather starts cooling off and you put your stomach away, you cover your arms up, the sun's going down earlier, you start slacking. You start packing it in, right? You got to keep your energy on all year round. All right. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about that on the next stream. So I may have to have more of an impromptu stream. So I'm going to have to make some time to get back on here. We've got to really talk about it. Because you got to stay on top of your emotional wellness. Always safeguard up here. Protect your dopamine sensitivity. Right? So you got to check in with yourself. All right. Always take inventory. Check in on yourself. If you're not getting the results that you're looking to get, there's something you're missing. There's something you're overlooking. You got to take inventory. Right? You're not doing everything perfectly. Right? So we'll get into it. I kind of been slacking, coach. There you go. See, I appreciate the honesty though, right? And look, we do it all the time. So that's what I'm saying, right? You got to check in on yourself. Just because it's fall and winter, and it's getting cold, and your days are shorter, keep that energy. You can still get up early, you still get your workouts done, and you know what? You may have to turn up. Turn up. Challenge yourself. Okay? Get dialed in. So, last call. Definitely, if you see value in this kind of content or this information, you want more of a personal call with me, you want to get on a call with me, we got a full 60 minutes to talk out your issues. Okay? And actually lay out solutions that you can do moving forward on day one. You can start implementing this stuff as soon as you get off the call. So hit the link in the description of this video and book a call with me, or you can join my 12-week mentorship. And with that 12-week mentorship, you get my entire methodology, my training methodology, my nutrition methodology. You get coaching support, okay, through my member support group on Discord. You get exclusive access to the member live streams that I have with the tribe on the inside. We do live Q&A over voice chat. We do live meal planning, all that type of stuff. And the live streams, when I post the live streams, you see, like on YouTube, you watch the Monday Night Live, and it's just a live stream video, and in the comment section. In Tribe by Noir, you get the live stream, and then you get all types of good information underneath. Diet suggestions, meals, recipes, exercises, video tutorials, all of that type of stuff. And I add as well to the things underneath. So when people say, "Hey, can you add this?" or "Hey, can you explain this?" I'll actually go back and add and modify that post. Okay, so I stuff a lot into there. So it's a video coaching platform that is growing day by day, week by week. All right, so really good stuff coming. All right, so definitely join that 12-week mentorship or book a call with me. And I'll catch y'all on the next live stream. Much love to y'all. And remember, anything that isn't growing is dying. So you better learn how to live or die trying. Now, nailed the quote. There we go. That's what I'm talking about. Have a good night, y'all.